enzymes have brought so many people back into alignment with themselves, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, like all of it. How would you say your experience brought you into better alignment, whether it's such as like awareness of yourself or just like feeling more centered?
I don't even think you realize what you're doing until after it's done. And then you go, wow, that was a trip. That's kind of how I felt. It was like I was pumped to do this because it was long overdue in my lifetime. And, you know, who inspired me was my children. Of course, I spent some time with them, and they're living in Bali. And one of my daughters had some experience and needed to cleanse, and other things happened. And I didn't have the heart to watch her not eat while we were all eating. So I started to follow what she ate. And I started to feel good. And then she did this intense cleanse. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this cleanse when I go home. And so I had started to prep myself by eating healthy and the month before. And then I went in full. Like, I was so pumped when I got my package. It was like a little overwhelmed, I have to say, when this big package came, and it was like, I got to follow this big schedule. So I was overwhelmed at first, but the commitment to, you know, committing to it was what I had. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this right. And then once I started, it wasn't that hard. I was shocked at how, you know, I had some blocks for sure, but it was pretty easy. And I've never done a cleanse, period. And then I added 3 extra days of water on top before I started, only because I have a really sluggish bowel system. So I thought, if I don't do something before, this is not going to move at all. So the water cleanse in itself, the 3 days, was like, whoa, I can't believe this is moving. But then when I started, it was like, whoa, this is another level. Wow. I will give you a little bit of background because mine's intense. So 15 years ago, I had a tumor removed out of my sinus, many surgeries and many mishaps. I was bedridden for 3 years, and it's been a 16-year journey coming back. It took me about 7 years to come back. Allergic to every kind of medication. So I ended up doing my rehabilitation through natural modalities because I'm allergic to everything. So in that being said, I have nerve damage in my face, and I have bone pain and electric shock to my face all the time. I've learned to overcome it through meditation and so on and so forth, and acupuncture and all these other modalities. So I did want to do the cleanse. I don't have a gallbladder. I had 2 C-sections. So basically, since I had my C-sections, I had bowel issues 33 years ago. So my eldest is 33. Then I had a hysterectomy. Then I had these 3 surgeries in my face. Then I had gallbladder removed. So I have lots of scar tissue. So I've not gone to the bathroom. I'm 56. And I thought, what's going to happen if I don't do something? And I eat healthy. Like, I do not eat. I could say I'm pretty close to a vegetarian, not 100%. I do have a little bit of meat, chicken, fish, but I don't eat cheese. I don't eat flour. I don't eat sugar. I don't do anything. And for what I eat, I should be a third of the size. And I started drinking like alkaline water, Kangen water 2 years ago, and that changed my energy. And that helped detox. So that made a huge difference. So then I thought, okay, the next step is to do this cleanse. So as I prepped myself mentally, was ready, gung ho, I can do this. Started, didn't taste so bad. It was fine. And then it began. What came out of me, I cannot even begin to tell you. So the first 3 days was mind-blowing because I did 3 days ahead of water. And I know you don't have to, but I did it for my own reasons because I figured this stuff isn't going to move. Even if I drink this stuff, it's not going to move. So in my head, I thought it was clear. But what came out of me, it was like I burst. I don't know what. And a couple of things happened. Like, I lost through the whole process, and it's not the weight loss because it's a whole nother level. I lost 18 pounds. So that blew my mind, because it's like, how did that happen? And it wasn't just the weight. It made me realize, because I had been exercising for the last 2 years and I've lost inches, but I couldn't budge a pound. When I put the toxic mass that came out of me on, to film it and to carry it forward, I was blown away. I felt like I was birthing a placenta, which I never birthed because I had 2 C-sections, which was another really interesting component for me, because all of a sudden it was like all the demons, whatever was inside of me, just left. And it wasn't just like one amount. What came out of me was disgusting. But the amount of fat that was, and plaque that was on my intestines, blew me away, because I eat healthy. I eat the best. At this point in my life, after everything I went through, is like, I'm not putting garbage in my mouth. And I can't even imagine what somebody who isn't healthy, what it's like. So I had a couple of really interesting moments. Anyway, so what happened to me is I had 2 major blocks. So I was doing great. I'm like, this is easy. I don't know what everybody's complaining about. I can do this. It's not that bad. It tastes good. The schedule is great. I feel good. Slight headache, nothing major. It was nothing, like I do a lot worse than that. So it was like, no big deal. About day 4, it was like, oh God, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But I knew that I was halfway and I was going towards the liver. And I kept trying to visualize that the liver was going to be easy, because I did all the reading and I knew what my kids went through and everything else. And I'm like, oh, I got this. And in my head is, I don't have bile because I don't have a gallbladder. So I was stuck on this. I don't have a gallbladder. I don't have a gallbladder. My liver is going to be disgusting. Look what came out of me now. Oh my God, how am I going to do this? And then I kind of blocked. It was like, I want to do this. But then I'm like, I have to, because I'm halfway through. I don't want to restart. So I was like, okay, get over it. And I have a friend who is lovely. She's an osteopath. She happened to come over, and just by standing and watching me, she's like, you're blocked. Get on the table. So she unblocks me. And I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I started to realize I needed to journal at that point, because up until that point, it was great. I was having a great success. I got this. I'm going to do it. And it was like, okay, what is causing this? And then I started to realize, then the idea of rebirthing started to come. And it was like, I'm rebirthing. I never had the possibility to birth placentas, because both of my daughters were, C-section babies. And I didn't realize how much that bothered me until that moment. So this plaque, I don't even know, it's not even close, because I don't even really know what placenta looks like. There was no blood. It was no baby. There was nothing, but it was the feeling. And it was like, and I had a hysterectomy. So I'm too old anyway, but there is no possibility of having children again. So I had to really let that go. And that was huge for me. And then it was like, oh, I can do this. And then, I carried on, and it was pretty good. I mean, the only side effect I had was maybe a headache, but not a big one, and only at nighttime. And it was, I can't even remember what they were called, because I'm not good with memory, but the last pills of the day, whatever the enzymes they are, whichever one in the brown packet, I don't remember whatever they are. But every time I took those, it was like, oh God. But it wasn't them. It was the end of the day. So it was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And then it came time for the liver. We were the day before the liver. And I had tried really hard to visualize this liver thing. And I thought, oh my God. But from the moment I got up, I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I was like fighting myself all day long. Had nothing to do with the taste, because the taste was fine. I was just done. But I'm like, I don't want to do this. So every mouthful I drank is like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I went through. And then again, for the grace of God, my friend happened to come over again, and she's like, "You look blocked." Okay. So she puts me on the table, and sure enough, and she says, "That will help with your anger." And when she said that, I had no idea I was angry, because up until this point, I thought I was cool. I thought I was fine, but I wasn't. And what came through was, in my life, I did a lot of things against my will. Nobody pushed me. It was my own doing, because I'm a people pleaser. And so when I got to drinking that day, I realized this is what's the block. It's got nothing to do with the taste. It has nothing to do with the cleanse. It was kind of at the point where I didn't want to do this, but I knew I had to. And that block for me was the biggest block. And once she unblocked me, guess what? I could drink it, and I could visualize, because the last piece of the liver, when you drink the oil and the lemon, in my head, I was like, I don't know if I can do it. And so I had been working on it all day. Like, Sue, just visualize it. You can do this. You can see it. But I said it, but I couldn't see it until she unblocked me. And I felt the anger go. Then all of a sudden, I could see the oil going through me. It was not easy to take, I have to tell you. But I did like and I would recommend this to anyone. It tells you to put the grapefruit juice, if you want to break the taste. And that was a game changer for me, because at that point, I had the same taste in my mouth for this week, right? And it's not bad. It's just you kind of get that last bit is you don't want to do it anymore. And so having the grapefruit gave me the taste in my mouth. And once I squeezed it in, it went down. And I did the meditation, locked my door. And it was funny, because when I lied on my side, as they suggested, it was like, okay, I can do this. If I tried to move, it was like, no, don't move. And then it went down. It went in easy. I put myself to sleep through meditation, and I made it through. And I had a good, release. And it was funny, because I was so stuck on not having a gallbladder and no bile. And I don't know the body. I just do these things. I don't have any background. Realizing that my liver has bile, it released me. It was huge. And then it was like, okay, my body can work. And I didn't really I had no stones. My liver looked good. The color was good. It came through, but it was really very not a lot happening. It cleansed for sure, but I thought it was going to be worse. The real problem for me was my intestines. And then the next day, like coming off, I had to be very careful, because you're not going to, I now had done 11 days of water. Now, realizing I did this, I kind of had pushed myself into that, and now I had to finish it. So coming off, I was really good about, I made myself like bone broth, 32-hour bone broth, and farm fed, everything that's clean and whatnot. And I started with dandelion tea, made, all made from scratch, and watermelon juice. And I did that for about 3 days, and then slowly introduced. I felt like it was, when you're feeding a baby, a couple of tablespoons of, pumpkin. And I was craving the weirdest things. I wasn't craving anything sweet. It was like broccoli and avocado. Like, who craves avocado? Right? And bone broth. Like, I don't even really like bone broth, but I couldn't wait to have this bone broth. Right? So I found, and I'm still doing this. So I did it, the cleanse, I started the first, I did September 30th. So wherever we are now, almost a month. And I'm still like, I just listen to my body. If I'm craving something, like I'm craving weird things, like I'll crave a piece of meat, which I don't normally crave meat. I don't even eat meat. And I've been just listening to my body, and dandelions has been a big thing for me right now, and pumpkin. And I have never gone to the bathroom like I do now. I go regularly, every day, sometimes twice, 3 times a day. This doesn't happen in my lifetime. I haven't gone to the bathroom like this in over maybe 35 years. But the real interesting part is my face has symmetry, which usually I don't. I don't have any bone pain at all. My skin, people stop me and say, like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing, my energy level's up. I feel amazing. I put about maybe 5 pounds back on, which is understandable, but I'm down a size. My gut, I haven't seen my ribs in years. I'm very short-waisted. So always having, the intestines full. I haven't seen my ribs in years. So it's not about weight for me. It's just the way I feel. And I can't tell you how clean I feel. I really did a reset. So if I can help anybody make that decision, it's a reset. It's not about weight. Sure, it's a bonus, but I feel it like all over me. I don't have my neck. I used to feel like my neck was so big. The inflammation's all gone. I had a lot of inflammation and I didn't even eat food. I'm eating probably more now than I did before. Obviously, I'm very selective now because I'm not going to go down that road anymore. But it's like a real wow moment for me. So if I can recommend to anybody or share my story, I'm happy to. It was, a commitment for sure, on all levels. But if you want to do anything in life, you have to commit. Right. So that was how it's been for me. And I feel great. My skin feels 100% better. And I don't have any chronic pain, which is huge for me. Yeah, it's huge. So, do I want to jump in and do it anytime soon again? No. I figure I'll probably do the gut more, regular, because I was a little bit, I don't know if I want to go back down the liver for now, but I will at a later date. But for now, it's like, I think I'm good, and continue staying healthy and, not bad habits, that's for sure. But it was the blocks for me that I didn't realize what was going to come through. And, I can journal, I normally do, but it was interesting of how I journaled and when I journaled. It was like I was fine. But when I wasn't, I wasn't. And it was like, but really I had no real side effects. So whoever invented this cleanse did an amazing job. I was impressed with the schedule. I was impressed with the quality. The taste was decent because usually I'm a taste person. It was great. It really was fairly easy. Nothing is easy, but I would say it was not hard. It's very doable, very, very doable, and as far as the cost, I feel that that's fair, because if you think for a week you're not eating at all and you're supported with all these, because you don't realize when you get that box, it's a big box of all this stuff, because I did the gut and the liver. So it was the rainbow cleanse. So it was the 7 days, but definitely worth every penny. Yeah, it was just a great experience, considering it was my first cleanse. I went big for sure, but I feel you have to be committed, and people who have maybe, systems that work a little bit easier than mine probably didn't have to do as much as I did, but I knew if I didn't take it serious, it wouldn't have moved. So I am grateful for really doing this, and I share it with everyone. So I am so happy that you kind of reached out. It was kind of interesting because I'm like, is that not funny? I absolutely, I feel you can't go in half in this. Either you got to do it, and it starts right from for myself, the scarcity, right from that first a moment of, I got to pay for this. And it's like, you have that deep breath of like, oh, wow, it's a lot of money, right? Well, yeah, to a degree. But when you realize really what it is, it's not. Because the little garbage that you go buy in these kits at any health food store, you're spending more than a couple $100 for these small kits that you don't know what you're getting. And this is so well done that in the end, when I look at it now, it's like, it's cheap for what you're getting, right? But I would have never said that out loud when the first, it's always my kids too, like, Mom, you're worth it, do it. Mom, you're worth it, do it. And it's like, yeah, why am I not doing it? You're going to do it in food and whatever. It's the same. It's just all the same dollars for dollars because it's a whole week of not eating. So of course you're supported. Do your groceries for a week and see what it adds up to.
Ooh,
so
that's a good way of putting it. Do your groceries
that was
for a
huge.
week.
Do groceries for a week because I really noticed it because I did it and my husband didn't, but he's trying to see if he can mentally get himself. Him and his friend want to do it. And we're going to have to move his friend in so they can do it together. So they're going to have the moral support. But I think that's the only way to do it if you're a little bit not strong enough. Because I feel the Telegram group was amazing. The support is amazing. Anybody you can tack on and do it at the same time, I feel is also amazing and this young girl who reached out to me, like she was a blessing because then all of a sudden I felt like I have to show up for her, even though I don't even know this girl at all. She was just interested in the cleanse. So it was like, okay, well, if she's interested, I got to show up, because that's kind of my role in this life. I want to be a mentor of my story because, if I would have known, I was a person who never drank, smoked, did anything, and I got this random, I know why it happened is because I had so much resistance and I grew this tumor in my face, and it couldn't be more, metaphoric. It grew in my face. So if I wasn't listening, I got taken out at the ankles. I went in for routine surgery and almost lost my eye, and life changed overnight. I was 38 years old. I was young. And here I am, and my kids were my drive because I couldn't think of just leaving these kids on their own. And that was my drive. Didn't matter what I had to do, but I did it. And ask me how I did it. I don't even know. You just do it because you've got to, as you said, you have a problem, you just keep going until you keep going. And that's kind of where I am now in this journey. And I thought, okay, it surprised me, but it didn't surprise me that you reached out. I'm like, okay, this is what I asked for, and this is what I'm here for. And, help other people in your own journey and, share the story is all you can do. And, it's not a fake. It's the real thing. Anybody who wants to do this and get results, you got to commit. That there's no other way to sum it up. There's no easy way. Very doable, but you have to commit. 2 weeks of your life, one to do it and one to kind of come off it. And coming off is easy because you can be social just the same. It's the week being in it. If you're in it 100%, like God bless to the people who do it while they're working. I don't know how they do it. I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to think. Like I had so much clarity after, as I was going through, and I was very careful coming off. I did nothing. My first day off was Thanksgiving. But I was with my mom cooked and everybody. I was so happy to eat bone broth that I didn't even care about any food. But it felt so good, but I did nothing, which was another big boundary for me because usually I'm the one that cleans up and, ethnic family, you do what you got to do. But I didn't because I also stayed in my boundaries, which was huge for me because it's something I don't know. So the ZenCleanz is more than a cleanse of physical. It really is a reset emotionally, physically. I can't even begin to tell you what it did for me. It's a game changer, 100%. I see food differently now. Like, I don't care what's around me. It's like, okay, let's go find what I need. because
It's a
it's
full
so,
reset.
there was moments I did feel nauseous, but in those moments, make sure you're drinking extra water and not just staying in the cleanse amount. Because I felt like my tongue, that was the only thing. My tongue was so dry. I felt that was one of my things. It was like, oh, my tongue, I can't take my tongue. But it was like I was more thirsty and more thirsty as I went in. And I drank a lot of water. I was probably drinking, 4 liters on top of everything else a day. So I drank a ton of water. So that's something not to be afraid to do, but drink the water. My tongue, and at the end, I was like doing what they do in the hospital, almost like ice cubes. For my tongue was like, I couldn't take it. And I wanted cold, like just the cold on my tongue. And I thought my tongue was never going to come back to normal. By 2 days, it was like back to normal, but it was like this. And then the last day I broke out into some canker sores, but it was like right after I finished, but it cleared up after a day. So, but other than that, I had no real side effects, and I'm allergic to everything out there. So I was scared at first because I'm like, I don't know what this stuff is. Let's hope. But I didn't really, and that's kind of how I am. My kids do the research and I just trust them. So I didn't even know what I was doing. It was like, just do it. Because if they say it's good, it's good. Because they're all research geeks. So it's like, you do the research for me.
First place.
Absolutely. That was one of the things that I found really lovely is when I opened the package and they have the little prayer or whatever you want to call it, the intention that you start off with. That was so, for me, so supportive and so beautiful, because usually you're just told to do things. And, even the part of being, with they give you the little instructions to be with the liver at the end, to, really hold your liver. And it's like, especially for myself, that I had gone into so many surgeries and they were all emergency type. Everything I've had has always been emergency C-sections. Everything has been, nothing was planned out. Every surgery I had was in an abrupt way. So it was the first time that I can actually sit with something. And it was like, wow, this makes a difference, and like I said, it was weird. It was almost like I was birthing, and it's like, these are 2 different organs. I know it's not got nothing to do with it, but obviously it was my blockage. And I didn't realize that, when I had these emergency C-sections, they were against my will because I didn't want them. But of course you do them to save the baby, because both of them were emergency, because I tried even with the second one. And the second one, when she had the umbilical cord around her neck. So they were emergency. And in that, I didn't realize how much scarring, not just physically, but emotionally I had. And that was huge. Like, and and your birthing fat that comes out of you, it's like, wow. So that was a real wow moment. It was like, I couldn't even move it because I used chopsticks it was disgusting. I couldn't even grab it. It was so big. I swear to God, it was like this big. It was huge, huge. It was like, how could that be in? And then
it's another being. It's literally another being.
And then it gave me the mental, because I used to beat myself up of, you don't lose any weight. You don't lose any weight. Why aren't you losing weight? Weight never really bothered me, but it's embedded in you socially. So it was like, how could I lose weight? It was all fat inside my intestines. There's no possible way that the number is going to drop with all that weight of fat. So even now, okay, so I put 5, even if I put 10 pounds back on, I really don't care. I feel different, because it's not, of course, you don't eat for a week and drink water for a week and empty yourself completely. Sure, weight's going to come off, but it's going to come back on too once you start eating and put water back into your system. There's no other way. But I don't look the same. My face, it's the first time in 16 years I have symmetry. I have symmetry. I can see my cheeks, which I couldn't usually. It was swollen. So for me, that is huge. It's been huge. I feel like 20 years younger, and my energy is over the top. And my clarity, the clarity of my eyes, I can really see. So it's been wonderful. So I'm grateful to the ZenCleanz, absolutely.